Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian lad, and today I've watched Loki episode 4 at 0.25x speed, and boy what an episode that was. This is gonna be a complete breakdown plus my 0.25x speed series. So I'm gonna go scene by scene, and if there's an Easter egg or a detail that I caught in slow motion, I'll explain that too. Now without any further ado, let's begin. This episode opens in Asgard in a different timeline, where we see young Sylvie playing with some toys. Among them is a dragon and a Valkyrie, both of which we saw in Thor Ragnarok. Now she gets arrested here by the TVA for reasons still unknown to her. Till this day, she still doesn't know what was her Nexus event. The fact that the TVA opened a time door behind her where she couldn't see, that's where her habit of never wanting to sit with her back to doors came from.
Well, I never sit with my back to a door.
What? Now notice what she says here.
Defeats the dragon and saves Asgard.
And saves Asgard, meaning her Nexus event would have prevented Asgard from getting destroyed. In other words, if she exists, then Ragnarok in her timeline wouldn't take place, as it's supposed to happen. Now, of course, we see Renslayer as a TVA agent A23, which we've seen previously as well in episode 2. This is a reference to her first appearance in Avengers number 23. And notice, even though Sylvie grew up over the years, but Renslayer had literally no changes in her appearance. Young Sylvie went through the same process that our Loki went through. She had her transcripts and was scanned in this machine as well. Notice the guy who gives everyone the transcripts doesn't have his cat's picture in the mug, so maybe he got it framed recently, or the mug is just turned around. Now one thing that bugs me here is that in this episode, we come to know that the timekeepers are basically fraud and are nothing but mindless androids. So basically they're robots, and this machine that they have here gets rid of anyone who is a robot. So that makes sense though. Only an artificial android would see another artificial android as a threat, because they might be able to detect each other. Sylvie then escapes from her trial, and that's where her story began. We see a little bit of glimpse of the timekeepers, and then the title appears. Cut to Mobius and Renslayer, where Mobius asks for permission to interrogate Hunter C20. Now C20 is a TVA agent who was enchanted by Sylvie in episode 2. Mobius wants to interrogate her, but Renslayer says she's dead. Now this surprises Mobius, because when they rescued her, she was perfectly fine. But Renslayer says C20's condition declined to a point where she couldn't even form a word. Cut to Loki and Sylvie, who are on the verge of destruction. Sylvie finally opens up about herself and tells Loki everything. How she was captured, how she stole a Tempest and escaped. But over at the TVA, Mobius seems to have set up some sort of a magnifying Nexus threshold. He did it because he learned from Loki that TVA's current threshold doesn't detect any Nexus points during an apocalypse. Cuts back to Loki and Sylvie, who for the first time in her life found someone who finally appreciates what she did. Loki says they may be destined to lose, but they never die. They survive.
You were just a child when the TVA took you, but you nearly took down the organization that claims to govern the order of time. You're amazing.
This is the first time Sylvie came across someone who actually understands her. She starts having feelings for Loki, so much so that it creates a unique branch in the sacred timeline. Mobius then summons the time doors and apprehends them. But notice just before that, Hunter B-15 was acting really weird, and Mobius noticed it too. I'll talk about it in a minute. We see multiple known names in the monitor as well. Morag is where Peter Quill found the orb, which contained the Power Stone. Sakaar, as we know, is a planet ruled by the Grandmaster. And we also see Alberta, Canada there. Loki is then taken to the same place he once was during his interrogation. Notice the theater Mobius takes Loki into is Time Theater 25. This could be a reference to Journey into Mystery number 25, which deals with aliens erasing a man's memory so he doesn't tell anyone where they are. And there Mobius says this.
And a bad friend. Yeah, chew on that for a little bit.
Notice how this Loki is kinda emotional about the things that are being said about him. So Sylvie's love already started to make an impact on Loki's life. Now the last thing Loki says here is that the TVA is lying to Mobius. Loki's then sent into a bad memory prison, and I'm so bummed they didn't choose Hulk's match as his bad memory. It's a prison with a time loop, where you keep experiencing one of your bad memories over and over again. Mobius then gets denied when he wants to interrogate Sylvie. He mentions the other types of variants the TVA has encountered: Kree, Titans, and vampires. Now vampires could be foreshadowing the arrival of Blade in the MCU. Now Hunter B-15 keeps acting strange in front of him. All of this make Mobius suspicious about the TVA. Now he tries to find out what really caused the spike of the branch in the timeline when Loki and Sylvie were in lament as one. So he bluffs to Loki that Sylvie has been pruned, and hearing this, Loki almost breaks down. So Mobius figures out Loki is in love with Sylvie. Well, he kinda makes fun of it because Loki is essentially in love with himself but in a different body. He sends Loki to the time cell again, but just before that, Loki says this.
Because I lied about your girlfriend?
Oh no, that I can respect. I mean the lies you tell yourself.
I mean, the fact that you can always hide the truth, but can you hide it from yourself? This one line was so deep and crucial to the plot that this forced Mobius to doubt the entire TVA. Cut to Hunter B-15, who finally decides to get answers to all our questions. So she takes Sylvie back to Alabama in 2015, where Sylvie had previously enchanted Hunter B-15. Now, we learned already that all the TVA agents are variants and someone has erased their previous memory. But whenever Sylvie enchants someone, she unlocks the old memories. So whoever is being enchanted comes to know that he or she had a life before the TVA. That's why Hunter B-15 has been acting weird all along in this episode, because she was enchanted as well. She got a glimpse of her life before the TVA. Sylvie does it again and proves to her that all the TVA agents are variants who have been locked from their own memories. Now we see Mobius and Renslayer are having a few drinks. While signing a paper, Mobius again glances at the pen just like he did in episode 2. Now what I think the reason Mobius keeps looking at this pen again and again could be because he feels a special connection to it. Maybe it used to be his before the TVA captured him, and now Renslayer uses it as one of her trophies. Mobius tries his best to extract information from Renslayer, but she just doesn't give in. She pretends that she's protecting him by not letting him interrogate Sylvie. She again lies about C-20 and how she died. Mobius then quickly swaps his time pad with hers, which he uses to find out what really happened with Hunter C-20. Notice in the device we can see the previous 3 missions Hunter C-20 has attended. One is of course in Alabama 2015, where she was rescued from. Another one on November 8, 1537, and July 13, 1929. Mobius sees the recording that proves the TVA is a fraud. Hunter C-20 wasn't out of her mind. She didn't lose her ability of speaking either. Renslayer lied about everything to Mobius. So after Mobius comes to know the truth, he quickly runs to Loki in the time cell. There he tells Loki that whatever branch in timeline they both caused, meaning Loki and Sylvie, that could potentially destroy the whole TVA. So they gotta do something to prevent the TVA from gaining any more control or causing more destruction. But when they come out of the time cell, Renslayer is waiting along with a few guards. Mobius realizes she knows he found the truth. So he speaks his mind. He tells Renslayer that if he could go anywhere, he would go to where he's actually from and ride his jet ski. And here comes one of the biggest moments of today's episode. Mobius gets pruned. But notice the reaction of Loki as soon as Mobius starts to get pruned. He screams and we can clearly see the agony in his face. So this branch in the timeline is really nothing but deep emotions of this Loki. He now feels empathetic for other people, and that's what will bring an end to the TVA. Renslayer goes to check on Sylvie and sees her suit and hair are all wet. So she immediately realizes someone was here with Sylvie, and that was Hunter B-15. So she sends an alert to prune Hunter B-15 as well. Now she takes both Loki and Sylvie in the golden elevator and are on their way to meet the timekeepers. Sylvie asks Renslayer what was her Nexus event, and Renslayer simply answers she doesn't remember. Now either she's lying and doesn't want to reveal the truth, or she really doesn't remember. Because keep in mind Renslayer has been doing this since God knows how many centuries. So for her to remember why each and every variant was arrested, that's kinda difficult. Then comes the moment of truth. We meet the timekeepers. Boy, I was so disappointed when I saw them, but I was equally happy when I came to know they're all fake. They're all a bunch of mindless androids pretending to be in charge. This reveal heavily implies someone else, probably Kang the Conqueror, is behind it all. Just like Aldrich Killian used a puppet to hide himself in Iron Man 3, maybe Kang is doing the same. And notice we actually got to prove that the TVA agents and the timekeepers are nothing but slaves, because they all speak the same language.
Variant, you're nothing but a cosmic disappointment.
A cosmic mistake.
Loki was then about to confess his love to Sylvie, and that's when Renslayer decided to prune him. Honestly, this was one of the most unexpected scenes in this show. I really was shocked for a moment when this happened, and didn't know what's really going on until I saw Renslayer using her baton. Now this scene resembles how Loki killed Phil Coulson in Avengers 1, and also how Vision disintegrated in WandaVision. So basically the backstabber got backstabbed himself. Sylvie then could have pruned Renslayer as well, but she chooses not to, because she's gonna get all the answers from her. And that's when this episode ends. Now in the post-credit scene, Loki wakes up and finds himself surrounded by, that's right, more Lokis. We see classic Loki played by Richard E. Grant, which is a reference to Jack Kirby's original design for the character. We see Kid Loki, Boastful Loki, and Alligator Loki. Now it's important to mention that Kid Loki does appear as a Young Avengers in the comics, so Marvel is really setting up the Young Avengers in the MCU. Now Boastful Loki seems like a version where Loki kinda takes on the mantle of Thor. He seems to be wielding a weapon like Thor's hammer, so maybe in his timeline he takes on Thor's power, and that was his Nexus event. Now behind all of them is the broken Avengers Tower. Also, the way these Lokis have surrounded our Loki could be a nod to the shot of the Avengers standing over Loki in the first Avengers movie. And that's it. This would be my breakdown of Loki episode 4. Lads, I'm going through some very tough times in my family. Only I know how I managed to make this video. Only I know under what circumstances I wrote the script, I recorded my audio, and then edited it. So if this video wasn't up to the mark, I apologize. But please know, once my family situation is kinda stable, God willing, I'll definitely come back with full force. Till then, if you like this video, video, then please give me a thumbs up, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to get updates about my videos. Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one.